What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. Today's guest has a wealth of knowledge on all facets of the hotel and hospitality industry. He's also known for pushing the envelope when it comes to overarching hotel strategy, sales tactics, programming, and beyond. He knows how to run a hotel and turn a hotel into something that is truly a destination. He has extensive backgrounds in luxury hospitality, and he was recently voted in 2022 General Manager of the Year by the California Hotel and Lodging Association, something to be tremendously proud of. He's the general manager at the upcoming luxury resort, the Regent Santa Monica Beach. Ladies and gentlemen, Younes Atallah. Welcome, Younes.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning. Good to be here.
I'm so glad you're here on a couple different levels because number one, when I was an intern way back in college, one of the first tasks I was given working at an interior design firm was to go into every single room of the Regent Beverly Wilshire and measure every single room and every lampshade and even up into the presidential suite, which was so cool because that's where Ronald Reagan would stay. And he was not, He was recently out of office, no longer with us, but he would stay up there and the artwork up there was crazy. And as a 19-year-old who was probably a little hungover, I hope I got all the takeoffs the right way. And it was just a tremendous experience. So Regent, also in traveling to Asia a lot, there was the Regent Shanghai when that first opened, and I really loved staying there. And I'm so excited to talk to you because Intercontinental Hotels and the Regent brand are really like doing this tremendous relaunch and refresh and reinvigoration of the brand and growth strategy throughout North America and the world. And I'm just grateful that you're here. And I want to talk a lot about that. But before we do, as this is the Defining Hospitality podcast, what does hospitality mean to you, Younes?
Yeah, no, we'll talk a lot more about Regent. I'm very excited to keep back and talk about it all day. Hospitality is an interesting it's an interesting concept, and I think you inherently have it or you don't. It's a feeling. It's not something that you learn or you necessarily can be educated on by reading a book. To me, hospitality truly is something that you do from your heart. It's treating people as they come into your home. You have a friend or a family member or someone coming into your house. You generally will not say to them, "Hey, there's a beer in the fridge. Go help yourself." You're going to actually ask them what they want, ask them how they want it, and you're going to do it because you want to. You don't really think about it. It's not a thought process. It's something that just naturally happens. And when you take that on a bigger level in a hotel environment, and you try to do that time and time again, I think that's really what the essence of hospitality is. On a bit of a side note, and just to be a little bit funny, I live life through humor, but someone gifted me a little magnet many years ago that said, hospitality is the art of making people feel like they're at home when you really wish they were. But
oh, that's good.
And sometimes you do, but 99% of the time, you do want to treat people as if they were your own house guests in your own home.
So I'm intrigued by something that you said, because I've heard this come up in many conversations that we've had here, where it's like, and actually there's a tension between two things. It's hospitality, you either have it or you don't. And also, I got the feeling that you said, maybe you didn't use the exact words of repetition, like you're doing it over and over, you're iterating it. So I agree with you. I feel like some people have it or they don't, but no matter how, if you do have it, the only way it gets better is through repetition. So how do you strike that balance between finding the people who have it, but then also the complete iterative process of continuous improvement to like let that gift that they have grow?
Right. Look, it's just like anything else. Whether you're, any talent that any of us have. That's we're wired a certain way. If you're an athlete or a musician or an actor, you are only getting better through practice, and you don't do it. You do it because you want to, but you also have people around you who are pushing you, coaches who are teaching you new techniques, or coworkers who are really lifting you up and making you that much better. I think it's there's a lot of analogies between sports and really probably any business, but certainly in hospitality, where we're so integrated as teams, and we really are. There's very, very few, if any, positions in a hotel where individual contributors actually exist. And so kind of being uplifted by your team, challenged by your team, to keep doing what you do. I think that's what really sharpens those skills and those talents.
I totally agree. And then, I also hear a lot of people on this podcast and just in life and just colliding with other entrepreneurs and other managers. It's really like the skills can always be taught, but it's the culture, which in this case of hospitality, there's a way to it. You either got it or you don't. So it's like you hire for the culture, and skills are really secondary. And you just by what you said, I gather that's your mode of thinking as well.
Well, 100%. I mean, it's really a pretty basic concept, but it's exactly that. None of us come out of the womb knowing how to to revenue manage or to clean a room or whatever the case might be. But I truly believe that we're wired a certain way, and it's that passion to be people pleasers, and value service.
Agreed. And also, I know that you were kind of born into hospitality, so obviously you had it. But actually, my question is, did you have it, or was it just that your parents just like drilled it into you that you better have picked it up? Like, tell us a little bit about your journey because you were an early adopter of hospitality.
Yeah. So my parents actually owned a travel agency, and so from the day I was born, that was sort of what put food on the table was that travel business. And they loved to travel. They did it a lot, both for work and for pleasure. And we were very fortunate that they instilled that in us. We went on a lot of trips as kids. I always like to say that they had this rite of passage. There's 4 of us kids, and all 4 of us had to work in the brick and mortar travel agency way back then, during summers and that kind of thing, just to kind of I think it taught us grit and the value of work, but also I think my dad was hoping that one of us would pick up the business. He ended up selling it, and none of us picked up the business. But we all went through it to various degrees of success, if I might add. But that was it. And I can actually, I was thinking about this leading up to today's conversation. I probably can pin the exact moment that I thought to myself, I want to work in a hotel. I think I was probably 11 or 12. And I was on vacation with my mom and my dad. It was just the 3 of us. And just the feel, we stayed at a lovely hotel on a beachside resort. And just the feeling I got, and the sounds and the smell and everything that I was looking around, just being in the lobby and the restaurant and the pool, I felt a connection and thought to myself, I'm gonna do this. And there were some naysayers in kind of getting out of high school, and because everyone wanted to be a doctor or an engineer and or a lawyer, and I didn't want to do any of those things.
So you had the gene.
I think I did. I think I did. Yeah, yeah.
I,
Many years later, it appears to have worked out.
well, I want to, if you don't mind, I'd like to circle back because, well, I want to get back to your career journey as well. But like before we get into there, um, I'm just really intrigued by the kind of this renewed momentum into the Regent brand from IHG, the
Mhm.
growth path. I just wanted, if you could just tell us a little bit about, from a luxury perspective, what role you find Regent has within the IHG portfolio, and kind of like where do you see it going in this marketplace of so many brands, and what, and then kind of zoom in on the property that you're opening, the Regent Santa Monica.
Sure. Um, I truly believe that what IHG is doing in the luxury and lifestyle space is pretty tremendous. You know, acquiring the Regent brand just 5 years ago in 2018 was probably one of the best things that IHG did or has done in order to position the company to play in the big leagues with many of our other competitors. Regent sits in the luxury and lifestyle segment with an IHG right alongside Six Senses.
Mm-hmm.
As well as Intercontinental, Kimpton, and Vignette Collection, which is also a new brand under the umbrella. I think that the growth strategy for Regent is being very deliberate and very thoughtful. It's not a mass-produced brand. It can't be. It's the cost of entry to start, but also the fact that identifying locations and markets that can support it and really be meaningful. I think we're in great company as far as our growth is concerned within the brand. This year alone, Regent opened a couple of really tremendous and iconic properties. The Regent in Hong Kong is back online. It was a flagship for many years, and it's really great to see that property breathe a new life into it. As well as the Carlton in Cannes, which is an iconic property in the south of France, opened just around the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year to a lot of fanfare. And I had a good fortune of doing a hard hat tour at that property before they opened, and it's just amazing. Regent was for many years a very prominent brand, and there was quite a few of them throughout the world and in North America. You mentioned the Regent Beverly Wilshire, which as well as a very much an iconic hotel here in the Los Angeles area. And I think it doesn't matter how old you are. Most of us probably have watched Pretty Woman once or twice,
Oh, yeah.
and the iconicness of the RBW is there. So to bring the Regent brand back home to Los Angeles is very unique, and it's a little bit nostalgic and a little bit romantic, and really to situate it in Santa Monica is not only a testament to what IHG is doing, but really to the destination. That Santa Monica is a robust, great city that is positioning itself to continue to welcome guests at all levels. And I'm very passionate about Santa Monica. I can talk to you about it as well for for a long time. But I think it's just a match made in heaven, to be honest with you.
I couldn't agree more. And I just have so many, like I said at the open, like just being 19 or 20 and being in every room of that Regent Beverly Wilshire, and just all of the memories and the movies and just the meta memories of just like the collective cultural Los Angeles memories. It was really amazing. And to be able to build that brand and expand that brand, um, it's really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
As you think about the Regent Santa Monica where you are now, one of the things I'm curious about, and so many of our listeners are, especially like architects and designers and everyone who's actually doing the built properties. Um, there are general managers who love operating or running hotel, and then there are many of those general managers. I would hope they all do that, but they just do not like the renovation part. They would like to skip town, get out of Dodge, and go to another operating hotel. So in a way, what you're doing right now with this reposition of an asset, are you a glutton for punishment as well? Like like as a general manager, because you have so many stakeholders from owner to
Yeah.
brand to guest not there yet, to your team that you're building and recruiting. Like, do you thrive in that reposition renovation environment, or like where do you fit on that spectrum?
Yeah. It's, as the words were coming out of your mouth, I was thinking to myself, God, I am glutton for punishment. You know, it's like, I mean, I haven't personally experienced this, but apparently, when someone has a baby, they say, I'm not going to do this again. And then they have another baby. And I think it's a little bit of that. I've opened a couple of hotels and I've been through several renovations at different levels and different parts of my career. I think this is the biggest one. Nothing to this scale. And the short answer to your question is yes. I think I am. I do thrive in that environment. I'm one of those people who, you know, doesn't really like a lot of routine and loves a good challenge, and loves orchestrating things and projects and people, and this definitely satisfies all of those cravings. But the one point that you did make is all the stakeholders, because there's a lot of stakeholders to manage through this
I would
process.
say a lot of stakeholders on every single hotel property that's out there, but in particular,
For
like
sure.
a quote unquote new luxury brand that's, really a new acquisition to IHG within the past 5 years.
Mhm.
From an ownership perspective, like there are a lot of stakeholders, but between brand, owner, team, I feel like
Yep.
uh, what's that Spinal Tap thing? It's like turn it to 11. I feel like you're at
Exactly.
11.
There are many days that I feel like I'm at 11. Absolutely. Look, our business, to your point, whether it's an operating hotel or a repositioning or an opening or at any stage in a hotel's life, we're in the business of relationships. And I think that this puts relationships to the test. And where I sit, I always like to say our titles are general manager. I know there's different iterations of the title these days, but we're general managers. And I think that word is really, really important. And being a generalist, um, you become really good at it by being able to juggle so many balls in the air and managing so many personalities and conflicting priorities. For me, it's a little cliche, but first and foremost, it's about my team, and making sure that they have what they need, the direction, the tools, the equipment, the support to really excel, because they're the experts. And then, alongside that, very, very close behind is obviously managing the brand, the design teams, ownership, budgets to a certain extent. And a big part of what I also am doing right now is getting the word out. Again, going back to the fact that this is a reintroduction of Regent, there are customers that are not familiar with the brand at all, and there are some who may remember it and are excited to learn what the new vision of Regent looks like. So I've actually been spending quite a bit of time on the road as well, carrying the flag and educating on our hotel specifically and on Regent in general.
And I love that you just finished that sentence with general, because something really resonated with me as you were saying you're a general or a generalist, a general manager. Um,
Mhm.
and what resonated with a few minutes ago, you were saying you don't like a lot of routine, and that's what this renovation really helps do. And I think especially in the resort type properties, I think what I'm so
Mhm.
intrigued by as like an ADD entrepreneur is in that it's an operating business, but it has so many different channels of operation and revenue management, from food and beverage to, I don't know what you have there, but like I'm sure like bicycles to um, just other experiential things to, I don't know what, you probably have a whole menu of just spa and
Yeah.
this and that, and to be able to work in a business and manage a business or start off on a low rung as an entry level at a place where there's so many different options, it would just seem to me
Mhm.
that that's just very exciting, because there's so many, going back to that knob thing, there's so many knobs to turn and optimize
Yep.
and get involved with and get alignment around.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. I think the fun part of all of this is everything that you just said. It's how do all the pieces of the puzzle fit? What experiences are we creating? What's making us different? Because look, the competition is formidable, and we can't shy away from that. There's great hotels out there. There's great hotels in Santa Monica. There's great hotels up and down the California coast. And so, how do you set yourself apart, and how do you, create this unique experience that is not going to be a one and done,
Mm-hmm.
but that you're going to create that loyalty as a result of it. And look, we throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall, and sometimes it sticks, and sometimes it doesn't, and we have an opportunity to reassess. Pre-opening, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of opportunities to reassess after we're operating once we're open.
But that, I love the metaphor also of this throwing the spaghetti at the wall, because you do have so many channels. Obviously, number one is probably guest, like
Mm-hmm.
getting heads in beds, right? But there are so
Mm-hmm.
many other. It's almost like a culture of experimentation as you're
Yep.
getting this, or repositioning this resort property as a regent. And
Yep.
another thing, like as a general manager, where you have so many stakeholders, right? Um, I would just, I've heard this said, and I've said it on the podcast at some point. But if I spoke to a general manager before the pandemic about what would keep them up at night, it's not occupancy or ADR or all those other metrics. It's, are their housekeepers or engineers going to show up for work? Because
Right.
it's such a it's just hard. It's hard to recruit and train. But the other thing that I'll say on the other side of that coin, and from what I've seen, I think that our industry, hospitality, especially a new hotel, like what you're doing in Santa Monica, I believe that the many of those entry level positions, there is such a steep curve or steep career
Mm-hmm.
path to management and to a career. It's a career path. And so that's just from my experience as like just a fan of hospitality. But what are you seeing
Yeah.
as an operator?
Yeah. Um, well, you've just mentioned a couple of things that I want to kind of touch on, and we can go back to one of them more deeply if we need to. But I think the first thing that we as hotel operators and owners and designers and across the board that we have to really kind of keep in mind is customers, our guests, expect a comfortable bed, a clean environment, a room that's not noisy, a safe hotel, a safe location, a convenient location. These are all givens, regardless of um, you know, what part of what hotel you're operating, right? What level hotel you're operating. Um, and when you talk about a luxury hotel, it's sort of a given. You expect beautiful design, you expect the best bed, you expect, you know, nice sheets and great food and a great, all of that. But the experience is really, and the programming is really what people I think are looking for more than anything else. It's one thing to show pictures of what a room looks like or to do a site inspection, but really to talk about when you come, especially in a resort environment, to your point, what is it that's going to make me think less about work? What is it that's going to entertain my kids? What is it that's going to fill my day?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, we talk about, being in the business of creating memories. And I think our customers have heard that. We tell, all brands talk about it so much that a customer says, okay, so how are you going to help me create a memory? And as we're opening a hotel, I think those are that's the fun part of what we're doing is, what does the beach experience look like when someone comes to the Regent Santa Monica Beach? What does the pool experience look like? How can I keep kids entertained? And buy-in from the team to execute at the highest level and be creative and empowered to do the right thing is really key. I mean, we have this, our ethos at our hotel is we take care of each other, we take care of the guest, we do the right thing, and we own any situation that comes along. And I think if you put those things together, you along with great programming and a great resort and a great design, it creates that experience. The other part of what you just mentioned is people and the steep climb into management. Good people and good talent is really, really hard to find. And post-pandemic, I think it's become even harder. I think anyone who's listening to your show will probably attest that we struggled in 2021 and 22 and even till today to find the right people. I think people were just a little bit scared of going into hospitality. It's an industry that was incredibly impacted very, very quickly in the pandemic and took a really long time to recover. And so people looking to enter the work world are a little bit more shy about it. But here's what I would say about that. You don't get into this business for the glory or to become a billionaire, quite frankly. You get into this industry because it makes you feel good. And I will say that one thing that has not changed in the 25 years that I've been doing this is if you're a hard worker, you're passionate, you've got your heart in it, and you show tenacity and interest in growth, it's going to happen for you. And more so right now, it'll happen faster because finding good supervisors and managers and leaders is that much harder. I mean, I'll give you an example at my own hotel of a young man who was a food runner, had been a food runner for us for a few years, and came to see me directly actually, and said, "Hey, I feel inspired. This pandemic has kind of given me a little bit of opportunity to think about things, and I really want to get into management." And it was like something was listening to him, because within a couple of weeks, we had some natural turnover. A position opened up. We took a chance on him, and he's gotten a couple of promotions since. I mean, the guy's incredible. He just had the tenacity and the gumption to actually ask for it. And our responsibility as hotel leaders, and my responsibility, is to make that happen for him and develop that local talent. So that has not changed in hotels, I don't think.
Okay, so if I love the story of him, you said it's a he, right?
It's
okay,
yeah,
that food runner. So who found this path into management, but also it's kind of making yourself a little bit vulnerable, sharing that you want to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I think about it, you said something when you talked about the type of people that need to be on your team from a cultural perspective. And you said something, and I'll probably mess it up, but you expect them and they expect themselves to do the right thing and own it, right?
Yes.
And
yeah.
So I feel like if you take that cultural value, I don't know if that's like defined anywhere, but do the
Mhm.
right thing and own it. And then overlay that with that hospitality gene and this steep career path. Um, I would think it's a recipe for finding these incredibly talented partners, if you will, that if they have those two things and you're supporting them in that, I would think that it would be very easy to shine and get into a management position and really develop a career and not just collect a paycheck.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that, a couple of things really quickly. That not just a paycheck and having a career is really important. I mean, what we do is a passion. It's not a means to an end. And I think that when you realize that, you really do shine. To your point. But the other thing, and I challenge my HR and marketing team with this all the time. We don't really do a very good job promoting ourselves as great places to work and to develop careers in hotels. To be honest with you, to varying degrees. I don't want to be unfair or kind of take a shotgun approach, um, but I think we can be better at it, especially in this post-pandemic environment. It's even for individual hotels. I'm not talking about big brands and marketing campaigns from that perspective. As an individual hotel, how are you selling yourself to people who might think, huh, okay, maybe a career in hospitality is something that I would thrive in and enjoy and be passionate about. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's just it's a bit of something for all of us to kind of noodle as we go after a small pool of talent. We're all going after the same pool of talent, right?
Yeah. But I also think that there's so many kids out there that even from high school could get into hospitality and still be
Mm-hmm.
afforded the same opportunity as someone who has a 4 year or 4 year degree plus a master's degree in hospitality. Because like you
Totally.
said, you're kind of born with it. And if you could come out of high school and start your path and own it and do the right thing and be in a culture where you're supported, I mean, I would think that you could quickly be in some sort of supervisory or managerial role and have a real clear career path without being saddled with so much debt. It's crazy. And then even if you were to take
Right.
that, you're and if you take that debt off the table and then you're able to save, I don't know, 10, 15, 20% of whatever you're making, I would bet you after that 6 years or 4 years that you would have been in college, you have quite a nest egg that's already compounding. And maybe it is being talked about more, or I'm not reading the right magazine articles, but I feel like there's totally something there that we need to talk more about.
Yeah, agreed. I think, look, college and a formal education is great, and I don't want to, I want to go on record saying kids stay in school. I think that's important, but sometimes it's not for it's not for everyone, and B, there might be financial barriers for that. What I think a lot of
Financial, and I'll also say, and life barriers. Like life
I
happens,
like
right?
barriers.
It's
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
shit, what do I do? And I don't know. There's just a hotels and hospitality, which is, I think, one of the largest employment bases. Hospitality in general in the country is probably one of the largest employers. But if you think about
Mhm.
hotels and specifically large format hotels where you have all these different channels and you're throwing spaghetti, like I would imagine there's a lot of opportunity.
There's tons of opportunity, and there's not only is there a ton of opportunity, but there's also um, as you develop your career and as you shine and as you show all of these things that you've just mentioned, um, most hotel companies, and I would venture to say most hospitality companies, even restaurants and independent restaurants and fast food restaurants, because it doesn't matter, it's all hospitality at the end, have continuing education, have ongoing training, have some really great programs that they end up paying for or are included as part of your employment, where you can take advantage of it and do it at your own pace without having to be, um, you know, in a very literal environment of formal education or that sort of thing.
I'm picking up what you're throwing down. Like that's totally like vibing with me. And I don't know if this podcast could just even touch one kid out there that's like, hey, let's give this a go and see what happens. And then there's opportunity. I think that's a success just for doing this. So I want to also just, you've been a general manager for a long time, at a whole bunch of different brands and companies,
Yeah.
and ownership groups. I want to speak specifically about your experience with IHG, because they made a really incredible acquisition of Kimpton, I think, a long time ago. And Kimpton, they were like some of the first projects I ever worked on in my day job. And I think that they did a really interesting thing in that they like normally when a big company buys a smaller company, they kind of squeeze all the life out of it, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
I think IHG has done an incredible job of letting Kimpton grow and flourish and kind of be their own thing. I'm curious, with the acquisition of Regent, like, what are you seeing there from like the larger brand, and letting you guys kind of nurturing Regent as you're opening all these properties in the luxury segment?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think this was probably um, one of the biggest advantages, for me joining IHG as part of this project, and I think the kind of going through choosing which brand was going to be what name was going to be on the building, was the creative freedom that IHG has provided for the Regent brand, and the Regent brand has provided for the individual hotels. Um, the hotels are not going to be a cookie cutter from a design perspective or otherwise. They're going to, there's, we don't even have a specific, guest amenity line, for the bathrooms and shampoos and that kind of thing. There are guidelines.
Oh, now your phone is going to blow up.
Yeah. You've already picked something. Please don't call. But thanks. We'll take it under consideration. No, but I think it's great, right? It's one thing to say, here's the book, do everything in the book and you'll open a hotel. It's cookie cutter, and that works. That works in a lot of models. That works in a lot of in different segments of the industry. But when you're providing at the risk of sounding super cliche, but a bespoke and curated experience, you can't be a one size fits all. Mm-hmm. There has to be something that, a feeling that you get when you walk into the Regent Santa Monica that you probably would get when you walk into the Regent Hong Kong, or the Carlton Cannes, or the Regent Phu Quoc, which is a beautiful resort off the coast of Vietnam, very much on the bucket list. So there has to be that feeling that I think ties us all together, but the experience and what you touch and what you feel, what you smell, and your senses has to be specific to that environment. And I think IHG has done a great job in establishing the Regent brand, mm-hmm. to have that creative freedom for the hotel teams and the regional teams to really address the needs of the market and the needs of the customer that's coming to the hotel.
Yeah, I just from like as a outside observer, I'm getting that feeling as well. In that, and then I want to go back to your as a general manager, right? The generalist, right. And I want to further dig into that whole idea of a steep career path. As a generalist, right? You're also, as all of us leaders, we also need to be looking to who's next and finding those rising leaders. So for you as a leader, who's also hopefully searching and looking and nurturing new leaders up and coming, like mm-hmm. the guy the gentleman who you mentioned before, in the course of your week or day or month, how do you, I believe if you don't allocate time to certain things, certain things don't happen. So as a leader who's looking for new leaders, how do you dedicate time, and what do you do? Like, how do you find this next group,
Yeah.
and how do you nurture them into leadership positions?
Yeah, that's I think that for me personally, um, developing people is something I'm incredibly passionate about. And probably more than anything, it's what keeps me going and what gets me out of bed every day. To be very very honest,
Mm.
especially at this point in my career, um, I think I probably spend, I don't know, I don't want to necessarily, but probably 70% of my day or week or month is, if not more, is spent with people. I I'm a Virgo, so I am very planned, and my calendar is color coded, and purple is any people time, and there's a lot of purple on my calendar.
Great.
Um, which whether it's leadership meetings, whether it's one-on-ones with my the immediate team that I work with. We do I do a couple of times a month. I'll do like a lunch where we'll go off property and with a few leaders, 4 or 5 of them, and just kind of have just a conversation. Um, I do a monthly, and a lot of people do this, but I do a monthly a fireside chat type of forum, both with leaders, but also with our team, with our line staff, and every month a different group of people will show up, 10, 15, 20 people. And I think these open conversations um, enable me to kind of see that light in someone's eye and the questions that they might be asking, um, and kind of really hone in on it. And the other part, and I know I don't have an operating hotel right now, but
You
this is
will. You will soon.
I know I will. I'm waiting very patiently. Um, it's a very fast moving train, Dan. It's a very fast moving
I can
train.
only imagine.
But this is again so basic, but it's walking around your property and talking to people and observing people. This managing by walking around, what a concept, right? But actually getting out of the office um, and really seeing how people are behaving. And sometimes you got to nudge them. Sometimes you got to say, "Hey, what do they want to do? What do you want to do? Why are you doing this?" And there's these aha moments
Mm.
that the person you're talking to or you nudge goes, "Oh my God, okay, this is interesting."
Mm.
Um, and then the rest is history sometimes.
I
And
I love I'm a big believer in calendar and blocking time, and to see like we'll drop like the Minnesota Vikings old defensive line, the purple people eaters. It's what's coming to
yeah,
mind, right? It's
yeah,
if you're not dedicating time to something, it's not going to happen. And I find that time blocking really important. Actually, as you're also sharing that, um, Strategic Hotels owns your property, correct? You're part of their portfolio,
mm-hmm.
and they also own
Yes,
the Four Seasons DC.
mm-hmm.
And I believe, I don't know, last time I checked, the general manager there is Mark Bromley, perhaps. Is
Mm-hmm.
he still? Okay,
Yeah,
good. Um,
yes,
so his dad, Stan, was kind of like a mini mentor of mine when I lived in San Francisco. I would go have coffee with him. He was friends with my mother-in-law. I mean, they're still friends, but
yeah,
I remember walking around with him, and he always had this like you said, what was it called? Management by walking around, right?
yeah,
But he
yeah,
would do this thing, and he inspired me to get most of the time. I always have like these little index cards on me in a little leather wallet to capture ideas. But he would walk around the hotel. This was Millennium, the Four Seasons San Francisco. I don't know I don't even think
mm-hmm.
it's there anymore. But they he would write down things, fingerprints, stuff on there, and like, there'd be fingerprints on the front door, and he'd know the doorman and say, "Hey, how are you?" and
Yeah.
everything, but he wouldn't bring it up
Yeah.
to him.
Nope.
He would write it down, and then he'd be walking around and find that person's manager and be like, "Hey, I noticed that the fingerprints is a bad example, but anyway, just noticing
Yeah.
something and like, hey, what can we do to get this better?" And it's just like finding the appropriate times, because you're also, if he as a leader talked to the doorman, he's taking away the opportunity for growth from the manager of the doorman. So that
Right.
was something he said to me over a coffee. He probably doesn't even remember, but like I was just really taken aback by that, and it's just kind of sat with me.
Well, listen, Mark is actually a dear friend, and I worked for Mr. Bromley at the Four Seasons San Francisco.
Oh, so we were
And
probably there at the same time.
yeah, you're talking about
Wait, was it you that was not managing the front doorman very well?
It was me that had the fingerprints. But no, absolutely, and I would follow that up with saying that it's those legendary hoteliers, to be honest with you, who I think we all evolve, and our styles evolve, and technology evolves, and our customer evolves, and our teams evolve, and so we as general managers also evolve from maybe a certain image to a different image. I remember, and I'll get back to my point here in a second, but I remember going on a job interview looking like I do right now. This is many years ago. And the person who interviewed me said, "Well, if you want to be a general manager, you got to shave your beard." And I was taken aback. I ended up not shaving my beard.
And look at you now.
Yeah, and it worked. But I think that mentality of that, you have to look a certain way and behave a certain way. I think that has evolved. But what has not, or what we do stay true to, is exactly what Mr. Bromley would have done. And I would say that we've probably since replaced the note cards with phones that have cameras.
Oh, right. So there, leave no doubt. Yeah.
and the following up with a quick text message.
Yes.
So, but the essence of it is still the same. That's a great story.
Yeah, he's awesome. I got to get in touch with him. I'll reach out. That's my note to self.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's actually really cool. I had no idea that was a thread there. But
this business is way too small. This industry is
also,
way too small.
What I'll also share with the listeners, so I didn't know this, but I heard, and I don't know if this is true, that if there was any up and coming management person within Four Seasons, they would always send them out to California, or I guess when he was DC, and you would work under Stan. I called him Stan, but Mr. Bromley. And
I would feel very funny calling him Stan. I hope Mark's listening to this.
Well, you'll have to send it to him so he can listen. I'd love to have him on. That would just be a really cool full circle, or even like talk to him and his dad at the same time, and like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm writing that down to make that happen. Well, Younes, also, so I want to go back in a time machine with you. So if you think about when you were working at the travel agency as a kid for your parents, right? And if the Younes I'm talking to now with the beard, which I assume you didn't have when you were a kid,
I did not.
If you could magically appear in front of yourself, what advice would you have for your younger self?
It's funny because I think that I feel that I've lived in a lot of places. I've been very lucky to live in a lot of places because I've said yes to a lot of opportunities. But I would probably say to myself, live out of a suitcase even that much more. Go live in other places, go experience other cultures, even do that much more of it.
That's very millennial of you. I love it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm borderline millennial adjacent.
Yes, I feel like I'm all things Gen X and millennial, and I even have a little Gen Z. God save me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I'm definitely very millennial. I'm definitely a '90s kid, but grew up in the '90s. But yeah, I would say that I think that when you're, as when we're in our late teens or early 20s and we're starting our careers, we think that I thought, I'll speak for myself, I won't speak for anyone else. I thought that I knew everything, and I thought that this was where I wanted to be, and this was the location, and then nothing goes according to plan at the time. And so living out of a suitcase and really just experiencing different things, and hotels afford you that opportunity, is great. I mean, I wish I would have worked in more international locations than I have, for example. Or I'm very grateful. I've worked in city hotels, beach resorts, ski resorts, golf resorts, big convention, big boxes. But that's something that I would say to 15-year-old Younes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live out of a suitcase. I'm still doing
Live
it.
out of yeah.
I just think about now, I'm like, okay, I get it. But I either have a half pack. Usually I have two suitcases. One is half packed and one is half unpacked at any given moment in my room, and it drives my wife crazy. So
that's funny.
Yeah, I just need to follow through and get my ADD generalist out of the way to pack and unpack all the way. So fast forward now to what is the slated opening right now for the Regent Santa Monica Beach?
December of this year. Yeah,
December 23.
Yes.
Cool. And then, okay, so if someone is looking to go to Los Angeles for business or leisure, what can they expect from their experience at your hotel in December, January, and onward?
Yeah, we're still working through the details of all of that, Dan. But wait to put me on the spot.
Generally speaking, what's your differentiator amongst all those great properties up and down Ocean Boulevard and into the western part of Santa Monica?
I'll say it's two things. It's removing stress from your entire experience. One of our hallmarks and one of the things that we are hyper focused on is having a dedicated person for a dedicated team member to really curate and handhold everything that you need from the second that you hit our website or make your booking, however you make your booking through your travel advisor or so on, to the moment that you get home. And removing that stress is really what will set us apart. I mean, you just think about it. I'm getting on a plane in a couple of days for a business trip, and I have a very, very early flight, and I booked my ride share, and I'm nervous that they're not going to show up. And so I book in like 3 hours before my flight, just in case they don't show up. And so there's a level of stress, whether we acknowledge it or not. And so removing that stress and that hassle will be is going to be a differentiator for sure. I truly believe that. And the other thing is once you're here, really experiencing not just like we talked about, a beautifully designed resort with a lot of amenities and a great bed and amazing food. And a fantastic spa, but really going home and saying, I want more. That experience that I just had at the Regent Santa Monica is one that I want to repeat, is one that I want to tell my friends about, my colleagues about, and really to turn you into a raving fan.
I love that. So building you're going to do everything in the experience you can to build a legion of raving fans.
Hold on. Let me write that down. Yes.
You can listen to it later and write you can play it out slow and write it really slowly.
But very well put. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's one.
Fantastic. Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation, and like as we're wrapping up, if people wanted to learn more about you or the hotel, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
I'm a bit of a LinkedIn junkie, so you can find me on LinkedIn. Younes Atallah. They're pretty easy to find me. And then for as far as the hotel is concerned, would love you to get more information and stay up to date on our Instagram page at Regent Santa Monica.
Okay, and we'll put all that in the show notes for anyone who's
Yeah.
making their way through the City of Angels. Okay, cool. And so again, Younes, like a heartfelt appreciation and gratitude for you for investing your time. I know how crazy you are as a glutton for punishment and doing opening a hotel. I'm just really grateful that we had this time and mutual connections that I wasn't aware of. So thank you for your time and your attention.
I appreciate the opportunity, Dan. Thank you very much for your hospitality and for making this a fun hour.
Wonderful. And then I'd be remiss without thanking all of our listeners. If this changed your idea on how to deliver hospitality to others, please pass it along, because we've only grown by word of mouth. We just passed our 2-year anniversary, so people are listening because we're growing every week, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you, Younes, and goodbye.